I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But anyway, I just got up one day and I just signed for the market. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't sure of what I was doing. I wasn't sure of what the inventory I was going to put there, but I just got up, signed up for my very first crochet market. Let's just dive into it all. Hi friends, so it finally happened. I did my very first market. This was something I've been dreaming for quite some time now, and since it's over, I have got so much to say. A lot of things to tell you guys. The highs, the lows, what I learned, and whether I'll do it again. So let's talk about it. So leading to the market, I was very excited. It took me a day to make up my mind whether I was really going to do this market, but this took me out of proportion. I was so disorganized. I was happy, nervous at the same time. I was excited. I didn't know what to make at this point, but I had to make something. Remember, I'd already signed for the market and I didn't have anything in the inventory, so I just needed to get out of that comfort zone and make something for this market. I spent weeks making the inventory, mostly hats, bags, and also honestly I still felt like those weren't enough, so I kept putting in more of the hats, more of the things that I love doing. I also had no idea what would actually sell at that point, so I just continued making the things that I was comfortable with, things that were very fast to make, things that had very bright colors. Actually, most of the things that I made were based on colors. I really loved the colors and the different designs that I made. I wasn't sure of what was going to sell on this day. You get, so I was just making things because I wanted something to look like I have a full inventory. And at this point, I didn't know how many of what item that I made. So because of overexcitement, because I was nervous, I just kept piling in a lot of things that I would explain at the end of this video, whether it really sold out or not. So leading to the market day, the day of the market was totally blur. I actually had nothing to put my mind straight on, because at this point I really didn't know what was even in my stock. Going into something blindly, you don't even know what is going to happen. Mixed emotions, you don't know what to think, what you're missing, what you need for the day. You're just going into it because you had already signed for it. There was really no turning back at this point. So I got there super early because of course I had no idea of what I was doing at this time. I went to the place very early, and thank goodness I did, because setting up took me way so long. It took me almost an hour to lay out my table, organize the things, set up the dummies and all that. So when I looked at my neighbors' booth, they were very organized, and I compared to mine. Talk about it. Never compare yourself to whoever is doing the same thing or in the same area you're doing. Focus your things. That is like a by the way, don't do that. That was a bad idea. So my booth came up together at the end of it all, and trust me, when I saw all the things that laid out, I felt super proud of myself, because I had no help. I went there all by myself, and I packed everything by myself, and yeah, everything was just done by one person. So when you set up your table or your booth and you look at it, I'm like, wow, did I even make all these things? Or wow, did I even set up this thing all by myself? So yeah, I was very proud of myself at this point. Remember my very first I actually remember my very first customer who came. She actually bought some roses and some sunflowers. I even remember very critically the conversations that we made. It was very exciting, having someone who really wants to buy something but that you made with your own hands. Someone who has said, oh, they're beautiful, oh, this looks nice. That is mind-blowing. I didn't expect that. I was so excited. I was like, okay, I can actually do this my entire life. I can do this like a source of income. Really, it gave me the morale, and yeah, it gave me that peace of mind that I was actually doing something great at this time. So yeah, now let's talk about what sold and what actually didn't sell. I remember at the very beginning I told you guys I was doing things because I was enjoying doing it. I never had this in my mind that let's make this because people like it. You remember I went into this market for just experience, not knowing what to take, not knowing what the people like, not knowing what colors they want, the patterns, the sizes. I just made things because it was market day and I had something to put there. So to my surprise, flowers sold out so fast. I think within 1 hour, all the flowers were like gone. And I made quite, like, compared to other things, I made a lot of flowers. Though my main things that I really concentrated on were hats and bags. I made a lot of bags, but at the end of the day, I got so disappointed. They sold a few, I sold a few, but not like expected. So flowers were a hit on this day. I sold all the flowers, and yeah, they got a lot of attention, although the bags and the hats were really tricky for me. Now let's talk about pricing. At this point, pricing was a bit tricky because when I was done with all these things, the crocheting, the packing, good enough, I had a list of everything I made before I reached the market. But unfortunately, I didn't include the prices of what I was going to see to sell at this market. This was dumb, right? Making things that you don't even know how much you're going to sell for. It was really, really dumb. But hear me out. So when I go to the market, some people are thinking my prices were too low for handmade. Others were thinking that the handmade items were too expensive. Others bought like, okay, you things are cheap and I'm going to buy like a lot. That was mainly because of the flowers. I didn't sell the flowers expensively because according to my calculations, like for example, if I have like 1 yarn, let me say I want to make like red flowers out of 1 yarn, a ball of yarn is about 50 grams, and that can give me about 8 to 12 roses. So in my calculation, I would get even abnormal profit out of just one ball of yarn. But according to my calculation, I did some time a way of how I calculate my prices. So when I put in the material cost, I put in my payment, the labor, I put in the time that I've put in that item, and I do the calculation and you get the real price of something. It wasn't that bad. And being my very first market, I didn't want to overprice my items because I was looking at the big picture of it all. I wanted to experience the place. I wanted to get custom orders. I wanted to get to feel what people really liked. I never wanted like exaggerate prices, but I don't mess around with my prices. Trust me, I don't mess around with my prices. It's just that being my very first market, I had a lot of waters to test here and there. So it's not that I reduced the prices of my things intentionally, but it was a calculated risk. Yeah, I did some very calculated risk in order to push my work out there. But good enough, all the flowers were gone and I was very excited about it. All in all, this was just a learning curve for me. I just went there to learn, get the feel of it, and take the lessons from the market. Now, let's talk about the challenges that I didn't really expect. One thing I didn't expect at all was the traffic. People were not very many at this market, but the people who came are really interested into handmade items. I'm not complaining they didn't buy, they bought what they could. But at some point, traffic was so slow, I got so bored, and what made matters was my internet was so bad. I wanted to get like live on Facebook. Yeah, I think I tried Facebook. I think just Facebook. I tried Facebook. My internet was so bad, and I was like, it just pissed me off because going live was something that I had already planned. But if I go to this market at some point, I would be able to live. So that didn't go as planned. I was so disappointed, and yeah, I didn't go as planned in the area. But the good thing is I had more yarn, so I kept crocheting a lot of things. If I remember very well, I crocheted 2 more hats, though they were not moving, but it was fun to make. And I crocheted flowers. I added more flowers, and at this point, when I started crocheting these flowers, all the flowers were really gone. So and all the flowers that I added went all as well. They were all sold out. So this was a good experience. I took advantage of the low traffic and I made more sales. Yeah, so it's a win-win situation. At this point, I really realized that people really do appreciate handmade work. This market taught me that showing up is the biggest win. Even if everything isn't perfect, the experience is really worth it. So whatever you do, whatever plan is, whatever outcome it comes out, when you don't do things as it has been planned, like things are not perfect, all things that scare people, the main things that normally scare people is getting ready. People want everything to be extra perfect. People want things to be like neat, on point, fix, like no mistakes. And when you keep waiting for the perfect season, you'll never do anything. So the most important thing is do what you can and show up the way you are, show up the way things, even if you've not planned it to go in another direction, you always come out as a winner. Showing up is very experienced. Like I said, it's a good experience, totally worth at the end of the day. Just show up and put your best foot forward. So yeah, that is my experience. That is all that I went through in my very first market. I know it was a bit brief, but in experience, I really went through so many amazing things. I had conversation with the best kind of people. I had the conversations with people who really understood handmade, people who are in the same area of work with me. I exchanged a lot of contacts. I met new people, people who are interested in doing what I want. I made sales. So all in all, the market was success. So that was my whole experience. It wasn't perfect, but it was my experience. And honestly speaking, I'm really proud of myself because I didn't take like a long time making this, like to come as it was planned. I didn't take long preparing. I didn't take long like working on the inventories. It was very brief, abrupt. But I'm so proud that I went through with it. I didn't give up. I wasn't intimidated by anything because when I stepped in this market, I was not the only crocheter there. There was some 2 other ladies that were there. So when I saw them, I wasn't like scared because in my mind, all that I wanted at this point was to come, test and see what a market is like, what a full-time market is like. So the experience was totally worth it. So yeah, and whoever has, if you've ever done a market before and planning to do it, let's just talk about it. Leave your comment down below, and I hope this gives someone like a little push. If you're scared of doing a market, you're intimidated, you don't know what to do, you don't know, just show up. So take this video as a sign for you to go through with whatever you've planned. Don't be scared and don't let anything drag your steps. Just go out there and do it. And if you've ever done one before, please let me know how it went. Or if you saw that I made a mistake in any area of my first market, feel free to let me know. Let's talk about it. So yeah, that was actually all. And let me know down below your experiences with your different markets, or what you're working on right now, the items that you've already put in your inventories. And yeah, it's actually fun. It's actually fun to do markets, like go for craft fairs. Even if you're not going to sell anything, just make it a point to go to these craft fairs. You really get a lot of experience. I've been going to these markets before. I went to several craft markets. I went to craft fairs. I went to exhibitions, but I've never like done one by myself. So this was like a very good experience for me, and I learned a lot. And I hope the next one will be like better than before. And at this point, I really know what works best for me, how to display my things, the kind of display materials that I need, how to price. Trust me, that second market will be far much better than this. So thank you guys for coming along with me. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.